Sabah al-khair. Right now we're going to talk about derived Arabic verb form 7, or what we would call in Arabic wazn in fa'ala. First, the mechanics. If we want to construct wazn in fa'ala, in the past tense we're going to add an alif with a kasra and a noon to our meaningful judr, whatever it is. The only Arabic wazn that has a noon as part of its exoskeleton, if you will, its scaffolding. So if you spot a noon at the beginning of a word that's unfamiliar and you're trying to use your sort of knowledge of awzan and juzur to come up with the meaning, perhaps a decent bet that it is a Form 7 verb. Form 7 verbs are relatively uncommon, and they're nearly always passive in meaning. Pretty much never take objects. When we use a Form 7 verb, it means that the basic action of Form 1 was done to the object. So, one example that you've probably seen, we have a Form 1 verb, yaqta', to cut at its simplest, right? To cut a paper, to cut food with a knife. But when we put it in Form 7, it means to be cut, or to be cut off or broken off. So we would have yanqati'. In the present tense, or inqata'a in the past tense. Notice that that alif disappears in the present tense. We just drop it and replace it with the regular suffix that's part of our present tense conjugation. That's a feature of verb forms 7, 8, 9, and 10. It's just how they work. In the past tense we have the alif, and in the past tense we don't. So if something was cut off, often we hear this verb in the context of relationships, either between people or between entities other than people. So we could say, for example, inqata'at al-ilaqa bayna Yusuf wa Selma. The relationship between Yusuf and Selma was broken off. Interestingly, because this is Form 7, we don't really know who did it, who made the decision. Was it Yusuf? Was it Selma? Was it just a mutual decision? The verb doesn't tell us something. That's still kind of a mystery. There's a sort of obfuscation going on there. Or we could say, in the geopolitical sense, that relations between the two countries were broken off. انقطعت علاقات، ممكن العلاقات الدبلوماسية بين البلدين. Diplomatic relations between the two countries were broken off, were cut off. Pretty common usages. This is a fun pattern to play with, and a lot of the time you won't find a Form 7 verb distinctly in the dictionary, but the meaning is pretty clear. For example, if we wanted to say that something was studied, right? The book was studied. We could say, إن درس الكتاب. إن درس الكتاب. We're not sure by whom. Someone out there studied the book. from that form 1 verb, يدرس. Other usages, a fun one is, you probably know the word for heart in Arabic, qalb, with a qaf, not with a kaf, that means dog. And the verb means to turn over. Your heart is turning over blood and getting it to everywhere else in your body. قلب يقلب, that's form 1. And in form 7, we take this judr and we add the extra bits of the wazn, and we wind up with in qalaba, which means to be overturned. Also a verb that you hear when you're talking about politics. I could say, انقلبت الحكومة, right? The government was overturned. Interestingly, again, we aren't quite sure who did it. The masdar of form 7, inqilab, is a very normal word for coup, as in a political coup. So a coup is an overturning of the seat of power. It isn't always used to obfuscate meaning. Sometimes it's just convention, right? An inqilab is a normal word for a coup, or when relations are cut off, we tend to use the passive. There isn't really the same stylistic prohibition in Arabic about using the passive voice. You may have been taught at school that using the passive voice is less than elegant or ideal style, but in Arabic, this is thoroughly acceptable. We can use it to sort of conceal the identity of the actor in a deliberate way. For example, if I know that the boy broke the window and I want to be clear about that, I could just use the form 2 verb, kassara. I could say, well, he did it. Kassara. With that shadda on the second letter of the judr, as we see in form 2, كسر الولد الشباك. There's no doubt about it. I saw him do it. Form 2. Or maybe I didn't see anyone and there's a baseball on the floor and I see the window is broken, but I can't be certain, so it might be more appropriate to just say, the window was broken. We don't know by who. And in that case, I would use form 7. انكسر الشباك. And I hold off on my accusations.